It's one of those things that hides in plain sight in downtown Cambridge. Now, you even may have passed it by, didn't realize it was there. What we're talking about is the Richardson Maritime Museum in Cambridge. That's where we find Delmarva Life's Brian Spiros. Brian, good afternoon. So people have actually walked past this museum, mistaking it for a bank.
Yes, they do, Jimmy. As a matter of fact, we're inside the museum right now, but I want to show people what it looks like on the outside so they can get acclimated to it. There it is. Like you said, people mistaking it for a bank. But trust me, I can vouch for it. It is not a bank. It is a museum, and we're going to tell you all about it. And I want to introduce you to Herm Kramer, who is a volunteer here at the museum. First thing, for people who are not familiar with the museum, what is it all about?
Well, the museum was dedicated to the watermen and the boat builders of the lower eastern shore and all of the Chesapeake Bay, which is all we emphasize.
So it has a lot of the history and the heritage of the bay and the lower shore.
It does that.
The name, the Richardson Maritime Museum, it's named after a very prominent gentleman from the community. Explain to me a little bit about him.
James B. Richardson was the last of the wooden boat builders. He built boats, workboats, pleasure boats, and the Dove, which is the Maryland State boat, a replica of the Maryland State boat.
So he was very well known, very revered here in the community, obviously. And you guys have an exhibit. When people come in, they can learn about him and obviously who it's named after.
Yes, it was made as an honorarium. He passed away in 1991. The museum was dedicated in 1992. So it is in his name. We have a separate area for him as you first walk into the building, explaining his life, his history, and the things he did.
All right, so there's a lot of other exhibits here in the museum. We're just in one of the rooms. One of the ones behind you right here, explain to me what this is. It's actually very timely.
It is our exhibit for the powerboat races, which are held the third or fourth weekend in July for the last 102 years.
Wow, and it's actually going to be the end of this month.
It will be the end of this month, that is correct. The pictures we have here are from the collection of Charles Marshall, who started taking pictures in the late 1940s through 2000. Mr. Marshall has donated his collection to us. He has since passed away, and we have 6,000 pictures, slides, and film strips that we really could use an extra volunteer or two to help sort through.
To help go through and get all the information. So obviously, so we have these here. There's a lot of other stuff in here, and one of which is above our heads. This was the first thing I noticed when we walked in here. Explain to me this mural.
The mural was dedicated to the museum by artist B.B. Winterbottom in 1996 when we moved into this building. It shows, it's a stylized depiction, yes, thank you, of the town as it might have been in the late 1890s at the height of the oyster heyday season.
When oyster was king.
When oysters were king. And she did take a bit of poetic license, though, and put in about every boat she ever knew.
Wow, then there's a lot of detail in that painting, and there's a lot of other, we can't stress this enough, you have several other rooms here. We're just in one of the main rooms. What are in some of the other rooms if people came to the museum?
We have an area showing pictures of Cambridge and Dorchester County. We have a model room that has some models in them close to 100 years old. And we have a room dedicated to the watermen with watermen's models and artifacts of the trade.
And obviously this museum is very important because it showcases history and the history of this area. So we definitely encourage people to come down and take a look at it.
Yes, Brian, we think very much that people should understand the history of this, and it should not be lost.
All right, let's give the hours of the museum just so people know. The museum is open on Wednesdays and Sundays from 1 in the afternoon until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then on Saturdays 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. or you can come to the museum by appointment if you'd like to make an appointment. And of course, if you would like more information on the Richardson Maritime Museum, just go to our website, delmarvalife.com, and click on the show tab. Herm, I want to thank you very much for letting us be here today. A lot of good information. We really appreciate it.
And we thank you for wanting to do this.
Our pleasure. So there you have it, Jimmy. This is not a bank. No no more mistaking this building for anything else. It's the Richardson Maritime Museum. With that said, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Stop in and soak it in. Brian, thank you so very much for that. Well, up next on Delmarva Live, Kelly Pickler's coming to town to the amphitheater at Heron Ponds in Delmar. How you can get your hands on a pair of free tickets. Delmarva Live, life at its best, here on Delmarva.